Yo, where the hell's the notebook? I thought I just had it in my hands. Where is the goddamn notebook? Uh oh, I found it. Oh, how happy am I to have found the notebook, to have found the notebook in which I wrote the review of episode 4. The reason for that a little stutter was because I was gonna say the notebook in which I wrote the reviews for episode 3 and 4. But then I just decided to say 4 anyway, moving on. Well, welcome back. Welcome back to another. Wait, did I just say? Yes, welcome to another and another episode of Dungeon. Oh no no na nako, ohiro no, ohiro wa mashigatero. Welcome back. Welcome back. Because am I sure glad to be back. It's been a day, it's been a real day, where I have done not a lot. I've really just watched Tommy in it for 2 hours, but besides that, I did some exercise, and I kind of maybe already, I kind of didn't just care about my classes whatsoever, because I was more focused on relaxation and finishing some homework, so then I could. So then I could not watch, but re-watch episode 4 of season 3 of To Memoria Freese Y3 to try to pick up girls in a dungeon, and I did that, and I wrote the other half of the notes, and now we're gonna finally reviewing it. If only after what feels like 300 goddamn episodes since I first wrote it, reviewed it, and it fell into the depths of. But anyway, we're fine. I'm finally here, thank the Lord, that I'll be able to finally, hopefully, possibly, probably be able to record, be able to review episode 4 without any interruptions, without any failures. Oh, please help me, so that I can do a million other things after this episode. Please, oh please! So that I can continue this never-ending series without any more mistakes or any more stress, because this series totally gives me a lot of stress, but not really, but really a lot, but that doesn't matter. No, wait, but it should matter. No, it should not, because we're not gonna focus on the effects that it's had on me and my mental state, because we already talked about that in yesterday's two-parter. Welcome back to another episode where we're going to redeem the series. Anyway, ladies and gents, that was a hard intro for me to do. Welcome to episode 913, Friday the 13th. I know, spooky, huh? Let's get a few things out of the way. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, do we have a free gacha available? Oh, cool. Oh, it's Oh, you don't know this character. I do. You'll see her later. Anyway, welcome. It's good to be here. Good to be back on the attack. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I know that I recorded like a two-parter about like less than 24 hours ago, but you got to understand. It just feels so good to be back and say, "Hey, I'm finally going to be doing this again." Yeah, so I've had a day. I've had a great day. I've done a lot today, but also not really at all. But I did stuff, and that's what matters. Man, oh man. Just to give a quick review of my day, because even though I've said it like it's been a great day and not really a great day, but a great day overall. So, woke up. I did stuff. And now we're here. Good? Great. Alright, well, ladies and gents, let's finally fucking review Episode 4 of Season 3 of Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? I reviewed it once and I'm reviewing it again, but I'm going to review it even better than... Yeah. I'm just really piped up for this episode. Sorry if I'm like super over energetic, but you know. Anyway. I'm happy. Alright, hold on. Before we get to like reviewing and stuff, I want to say, and I know that I've said that, okay. This is really, okay, so before we get to reviewing, I want to say something real quick. This episode, alright, episode 4, called Aspiration's Distant Dream, right? Yeah, Aspiration, Distant Dream. This episode is absolutely fucking insane. And not in the way of action, not in the way of like, could you say, was there really yeah, not in the way of action, but more in the way of how much we learn, how much is revealed, and what we and like how many questions we're left with. And so this episode, just like the previous 3 episodes in the season, just is perfect. It's so great. It builds up the mystery and the lore and it builds the world. This is a world building episode, I'd say. And I'm going to explain why. Folks. I'm going to explain to you why Aspiration, Distant Dream, might just be the most mind-bogglingly interesting episode for right now in the entirety of the franchise. Okay? So let's get to it. Let's get to it. So without further ado, let's jump into it. By the way, there's going to be like 5 pages, so... Yeah, I remember how I told y'all that the previous recording or the previous review that was never released for this episode was an hour and 36. This is probably going to be like 2 hours. Yeah, probably. Anyway, episode 4, Aspiration, Distant Dream. The episode starts off with the epic intro. It's so good, man. It's such a good intro. I mean, you can't not hate the intro. And that's a good intro. But you can't not I You can't... Oh, yeah, no, whatever. You can't not love the intro. Anyway. The episode starts off with the epic intro. And after that, we continue the episode with a monster party. Now, I just want to, for a second mention Monster Party. So, Monster Party. When I refer to a monster party, I mean, a party with Xenos and all that kind of stuff. But the reason why I didn't call it a Xenos party... Because I said last review that I'd stop calling them monsters and I would start calling them Xenos, is because before I watched this episode, I was scrolling through my recommended on YouTube, and I found these two clips that Crunchyroll uploaded, and one of them was titled Monster Party. I didn't watch the clips, but one of them was titled Monster Party, and then the other one, well, it had a title that I don't want to spoil, but it had a title, and I didn't really think much of it when originally watching the episode, and then it hit me once I finished the episode, and then I'm like, yeah, yeah. Anyway, so I just thought I should mention that. That's why I called it Monster Party. And at the Monster Party, Ween is telling Ray the story of how Belle saved her. Lid gives Belle a rare fruit, and also, like, other monsters give, not monsters, Jesus, other Xenos, give fruits to Makoto and Haruhime, which, in this episode, Makoto and Haruhime aren't really, like, talking that much. They're not really, a main focal point this episode. They're just there, just sort of in the background. And so I thought I should just mention that right now, just for the sake of things. But they're having a good time. Like I said, Lid gives Belle a rare fruit to munch on. Belle's like, oh my gosh, this is really cool and really good and whatnot. And after that, he's like, he apologizes to Lid for, hitting him, like, not for hitting him, but, for the battle that happened at the end of the third episode, and Lid's like, it's alright, dude. It's alright, I apologize too for hitting you, man. I mean, it's just how it went down, And then, after that, Belle asks Lid, where did you, Belle asks Lid, did you get your armor from adventurers? And Lid says, yeah. We get the equipment, the weapons and armor from adventurers who attacked the Xenos in the past. And tells Belle when, and tells Belle, man, I'm just so... Wait, hold on. I gotta recollect my mind over here, because I'm gonna keep on repeating things. I'm gonna calm the fuck down, because this is such a good episode. So as I was saying before, my my phone just decided to... you don't have any more storage. Like I was saying, if I can, like, position my phone correctly... Is that good? Please tell me that's good. Sure, that's good enough. Alright. So, just to recap, even though y'all probably don't need a recap whatsoever, Lid apologizes to Belle. Lid then tells Belle his equipment is from adventurers who attacked the Xenos in the past, and tells him one of the interesting points of this episode. So, the reason why I think this episode is so interesting and so cool, and so this and that, is because it really makes you think. That, like, what the characters say really make you think, and really just make you reassess everything you know. And Lid sort of is the first person to bring that out into this episode by saying, when adventurers fight monsters, they get claws and stones. But when monsters fight adventurers, they get weapons they get weapons and is impressed by weapons. And so even though this seems like obvious, like, oh yeah, if you kill a monster, you get the magic stones and you get, loot. But if monsters kill adventurers, or like just scare away adventurers, the adventurers will, drop the loot, or their loot is just the last thing that, they'll have remaining on them. And so it makes sense. It seems like something that, oh yeah, that's just logic, that's just how it goes. But I just think, because I never thought about that. Because, like, throughout this entire series, we've always been focused on, the familias. We've never really been focused on the monsters, like, themselves. Like, we've been focused on, like, specific strong monsters, like the Goliath, or, like, the Black Behemoth, or the freaking World Destroyer boy that I forgot in a Stray record. Like, there's been a lot of monsters, creatures that we've cared about and that we've seen, and that were, like, very important to the story, like wyverns from Arrow of the Orient, or Orient of the Arrow, or I'm trying to think. Can I think of any? Or like the Black Dragon, like the 3 quests, like all the big monsters we really cared about. But when it comes to like small monsters, we really don't think about them. We don't really think about what is it like to be one of the monsters, because we're always just so invested in the lives of the characters and not really into the dungeon. Despite the show being called "Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon?" And so it's just interesting. It seems logical, but I just think that it's interesting. And the other thing that's really interesting is that Lid is just impressed by the weapons that humans make, and I'm like, yeah, they're... Yeah, anyway. After that, some Xenos then tells Lid to cut it out, and that humans are not trustworthy. The Xenos' name is Gross, which you'll learn about more later in the episode. But for now, just know that his name is Gross. And then rewinds. Oh, not rewinds, reminds. And then Lid reminds Gross that Bell and company took care of Ween, according to Fells. Wait. According to Fells? Dude, when I saw that Lid had said the name Fells, I'm like, wait. They know Fells? And so, we'll get to that later as well. But continuing, we get an explanation for why the Xenos attacked Bell and co. at the end of the last episode, and it was because the Xenos were scared when they heard humans were coming to meet them. So that's why they attacked. Not really important, I don't think, but I wrote it anyway. Yeah, I just it was, I forget how it was worded in the episode, but yeah, they were basically warned, or not warned, but they were told they also had to accept a quest, in the sense of, oh yeah, become friends with these guys. And I'm not going to say who gave them the quest yet, but just know that they were given a quest, just like Bell and co. And so the Xenos knew that they were coming, but since they were not defensive, but since they were scared, which is I can get behind that. I'd be scared. That's why they decided to fight. Obviously they said at the end of last episode they just wanted to test them. But at the same time, it was just, to make sure for their safety. I don't know. It's basically the same thing. But anyway, continuing. During the conversation, Lily and Wolf go to sit with Belle and ask Lid, is it true? Is it true that the guild knows about all of you? And Lid says, only Uranus. Which I'm like, wait, you know Uranus too? So, what we also learn is not really the people of the guild know. So not all of them know. Apparently the only people that know about the Xenos' existence is Uranus, Fells, and a bit of other people, which I'm assuming includes Lumen, and also includes another person that you're going to be very surprised by later this episode when I reveal it. But anyway, continuing. So the people of the guild don't really know about it. Just Uranus, which I think that's cool. I think that's good that that's the case, because I would have been really surprised if Aina knew about that. Well, I'm pretty sure if any guild member like Aina knew about the Xenos and knew that they were protecting monsters, she would at one point have slipped that to Belle, like I've said that to Belle, but I'm not sure. It's, and plus, that would be a really weird thing to hear. Like, imagine you're like, imagine working at the guild, right? As one of the, how do you call them? The people that take the crystals, that take the magic drops, and then, like, grab them, put them in, like, a storage unit or whatever, and then trade it for, and then give it back, or not give it back, but give Valis in return to the adventurers. Think about how weird they must feel, they could have felt if they knew that they were basically holding, or they were basically storing the souls of monsters that could potentially be intelligent, or monsters that can possess intelligence. Like, I'm pretty sure they would feel really uneasy about that, and I mean, I would at least. But anyway, continuing. Bell and Co. Also, Bell and Co. figure out that they were being tested by Uranus, and that when Lid heard about them, so this is the thing that I mentioned, that when Lid heard about Bell and Co. coming, he thought something might change between the two groups, that they could form a bond. So, while the monster party's going on, we hop over to Uranus and Hestia, who then talk about how he wants harmony between Xenos and humans. But not just him. They themselves, the Xenos, want harmony. They want to learn, want to be free. Because the dungeon isn't safe for them either. And this is another little thing that just sort of changes, like, everything we thought about the dungeon. So, the dungeon isn't safe for adventurers, and we know this. You know, it's not. You know, if you're a low class adventurer, the dungeon isn't safe for. It's not safe for you to go to, like, floor 10. You know what I mean? But if hold on, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's not safe for you to go, like, really low if you're a low-level adventurer, right? And that makes sense, but it's just crazy to think that it's not safe for monsters. A place where monsters live, the place where monsters live, is not safe for them. And I mean, it feels like that should be obvious. But it really, like, you really don't think about it. We really don't think about it. And just finding that out, hearing somebody say that is like, what the anyway. So the dungeon isn't safe for them. The Xenos specifically isn't safe. The dungeon isn't safe for the Xenos to live in, either due to the adventurers or the monsters. And this is another really interesting thing. Again, it's another like, oh yeah, this is logical, you know, like of course, this totally makes sense. But it's another thing that sort of just goes over your head. It's crazy. It's crazy that the Xenos, right, intelligent monsters, are not only fighting with adventurers, humans, but they're also fighting with monsters. So they have a double threat to themselves, or not to themselves, but they got a lot of trouble. They're in a lot of trouble. They're hunted by everybody. But since this is true, you know, that also means that there's a possibility that monsters attack other monsters. And again, this is another thing, and I'm going to be repeating this like 50 times this episode. It seems logical. Like, yes, you know, animals, which I'm just going to, animals are animals. By nature, animals will attack other animals, predator and prey, all that kind of shit, right? But it's just, it's monsters. And I've just never thought of that. It's fucking mind-boggling. Why didn't I think of this? Anyway, I'm gonna continue. And so Urano says he wants harmony. Hestia empathizes with him, and then also asks Uranos if, and then Hestia asks if Uranos knows that if Hestia Familia is found out, they'll be thrown out of Arario. Which is like, when I heard she said that, I'm like, oh my god, I'm calling things. My theories, oh my lord. Also, yeah, that's another thing I forgot to mention. Not all of them, but a few of my theories were confirmed this episode. Obviously not the theory of this being a Hestia-only episode, but, you know, it is a few theories were confirmed, which is pretty hype. Anyway, continuing. Let's see. And the way he responds is, he says yes, he does know that if they're found out, they'll be thrown out of Arario. And all is being done at his sole discretion to prevent that from happening. On to page 2 of 5. After that, we're then brought to Hermes and Asphi, who's invisible on the wall, talking about a Kelosamalia, who she investigated. So, I have some notes about what she found, but before I say anything, I sort of just skipped over that detail just then. I mean, I didn't skip over it. I sort of just said it like, it was any random thing. You know, Asphi being invisible, yeah. So let me explain that. So, I'm going to go off on, by the way, just want to say, if you didn't already guess, I'm going to go on like 1,000,001 tangents in this episode, like every so few minutes, because so many things in this episode, like, relate to like 1,000,000 other things that I know, and it's stupid. Anyway, stupid cool, by the way, not stupid. My point is, Asphi is invisible, and it's not because it's a super secret power she had that we never knew. It's because of a mask, and I'm not sure what type of mask it was. I think it was like a fox mask or a cat mask. Maybe it was like a spider mask, because when I went to rewatch the episode, it looked more like a spider mask. But in any other case, it's a mask. And when she took off the mask, she was, well, not invisible. And so I thought that was interesting because I've actually seen not throughout, but there was another anime that I watched where wearing a mask, like wearing a type of mask, sort of transforms you into something. Like, transforms you into a different being, into a different world. I don't know. It's used for many different things. But the only memory that I have solidly of an anime character wearing a mask and then it changing them was from A Whisker Away, which I watched way back in July. And it was when the main character, and by the way, this is just quick spoilers, so if you don't want to get spoiled about A Whisker Away, I'm not really going to spoil much. I mean, I'm not really going to spoil much. When the main character in that movie puts on the cat mask, she quite literally turns into a cat. And so I don't know if it's like a thing in Japanese mythology or culture or history, or not history, but in like myths and legends and folktales. I'm not sure because I'm not really too familiar with that. I mean, I don't read up Japanese history or anything. I'm not studying Japanese. I mean, I am, but not that deeply. I'm assuming that it's just a part of culture, like Japanese culture for, not culture, but like mythology or legends or myths, for masks to be a sign of power or spiritual power or something like that. And so I thought I should just mention that. I thought that was really interesting. Continuing. So, she was spying on Akelos Amelia and she was found out, but she managed to escape. And this is what she found. So what she found out is the last name of Dees. And Dees' last name, if you don't remember Dees, it's freaking bad guy of the season. His last name is Dees Perdis, titled Hazer. He was a captain. He's level 4. And even though I didn't quite catch it the first time I watched the episode, it seems that he's been a captain at level 4, a level 4 captain for 10 years. 10 years! That's fucking insane. What? 10 years? Like, what the hell, dude? Anyway. And then Hermes believes that Akelos Amelia are planning something. And then, you wouldn't believe it, but the next scene, we see them planning something. The next few, just want to mention, the next few, like, bullet points are just going to be, oh god, what are they going to be? They're going to be, I'm trying to think. They're going to just sort of be a list of things that happen in the scene. So, yeah, we're just gonna go over it real quick. So, Akelos, we go to Akelos Amelia. Hunters are mad for not getting, Bell when they saw him last episode. Dees looks through a book, which I'll get to back in a second. They shook off Hermes. They shook off Hermes' familia. The hunters are worried that if they're found out, the guild might kill. I just put that because I just thought it sounded cool. But no, the guild might find them out and they might investigate them and they might be incarcerated. And in response to the hunters saying that, Dees won't stop because it's too much fun and says, back to the hunt. So, before we continue on, I want to talk about another thing. And I want to talk about another thing. And that other thing is the book. So, the book that he was reading, the book that Dees Perdis was reading, in that scene, is the same book that I mentioned that we see in the intro. And when I first originally watched the intro, I didn't know what the book was used for. I didn't know why it mattered to him. But I have a theory. And you'll understand why I have this theory when we get later into the episode. But I have a theory that of what's written in the notebook, in the small little book he has. And the theory is, I have reason to believe that Desperdice has studied monsters throughout the years. You know, because since him and his ragtime team of hunters go out and capture monsters or Xenos and put them in cages, he studies them, and by studying them, he learns their weaknesses and their strengths. And so my theory is that he writes all those weaknesses and strengths of the Xenos and or monsters, and writes them in that small little book. And you'll understand why I think that in a minute. Well, not in a minute, probably in like 30 minutes. But anyway, so that's what I want to say there. So after that, we then get the start to a fucking insane scene, alright? Fells visits the monster party. And before we get to hear anything from him, we go back to Hestia and Uranus, and we learn that the only other god, yeah, I said god, that knows about Xenos. And again, folks, this is what I'm about to say is going to be another one of those things where it's like, huh, that's really interesting. And so listen to this. The other god that knows about Xenos is fucking Nesha. Is Ganesha. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And when Urano says that, the show, I didn't mention this in the notes, but the show just goes over to showing Ganesha saying, I am Ganesha, and I'm like, oh my fuck. And then we just see Hestia like just absolutely in awe and shock. And then after that, we learn about monsterphilia. So, if you didn't know before, Ganeshophilia is the one that runs monsterphilia, right? Now, monsterphilia is a thing that we've known about in this series. If you've watched since episode 1, monsterphilia is a thing that we've known about, and we've seen play out very, very badly. Hundreds, and I mean hundreds of episodes ago. I mean, like, we've known about monsterphilia for so long that, I mean, we basically played monsterphilia, like, within the first 100 episodes. Maybe within the first 50 episodes. Which, that's crazy. Like, the fact that we've known monsterphilia for that long, but we've never gotten a proper description, a proper definition of what monsterphilia really intends to do. Because, yeah, we know that it's it's sort of like not a gauntlet, but it's like adventurers. It's a Colosseum fight, man. It's just Colosseum battles, And that's what we see, and it riles up the people of Arario. And I thought, like, oh yeah, maybe it's to get more money, or to gain more popularity, or this or that, just a form of entertainment. Because we don't have enough fucking war games in the world of Arario. But apparently it's not. Monsterphilia is the reason for monsterphilia is so it can ease people's hatred or revulsion towards monsters. Now look, I don't know how that exactly works. But I mean, whatever. I honestly don't know how it works, how that works. I don't know how it's supposed to ease the people, because it's like you have adventurers fighting the monsters. Does it ease people because they know that the adventurers can defeat the monsters and the monsters won't go stir crazy? Is that why? I don't really know. Maybe it's because they're not, the monsters aren't totally out of control and they can be tamed. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But yeah, that's very, very interesting. Like massively interesting that the fact that we finally get a true definition for monsterophilia. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, continuing. Fells introduces themselves to Belle and co. and mentions the Xenos is a bulk of their duties. So we've never, and that's really interesting, because we've never known what Fells does. We've never known Fells' significance. Fells has always just been in the background. You know, we really don't know much about them. But Fells mentioned this episode. In this episode, he said, I work alongside Uranos. I help out Uranos, and I help out the people that Uranos works with. And the bulk of my duties is helping the Xenos. And that's fucking insane. Like, what the hell? And you're gonna hear about even more insane shit as we go on, right? But after that, Fells then tells Belle and co. that they've been watching over the Familia for the past week, and seeing how they're taking care of Ween. Through the blue sphere. So you guys remember the vulture that Fells had, or like bird or whatever? Remember the blue eye that vulture had? So apparently that blue eye is sort of like a camera / phone that you can just basically contact people through. And that's exactly what I said right after I said blue sphere. So through blue sphere, they use to contact Lid as well. So I think that's really cool. And then also Lid has one, and just to mention, a few other people have one, but that's it. So but I think that's cool that there's actual, like, I guess you could say a phone. Like there's phones in Memoria Freese. That's very interesting. Now, for the part that's just absolutely mind-fucking boggling, all right? Because we have a lot of truths in this episode, and this is one of them. Lily then asks the question that we're all fucking asking. Fell-sama, are you a monster too? And I'm like, oh, come on, he's definitely a monster. But no, you know what he says? Fells says, I'm a former human. And I'm like, what? What? Belle is confused, so am I. And Fells is about to remove his hood. That's right, folks. He was about to remove his hood. And I'm over here being like, holy shit, what's they gonna look like? And when I saw that Belle, Lily, Welf were all like really surprised / disgusted, I'm like, oh, they're totally just, we're totally just gonna get baited, and we're not gonna see his face. Guys, folks, ladies, gents, we got a Fel's face reveal. What the fuck? Fel's, as he says, was a former human. And you want to know what his face is? His face, all this time, I thought it was going to be a monster. I thought it was going to be some super-powered knight from the future. I thought it was going to be some fucking actual ghost. I thought it was going to be Sherlock goddamn Holmes. Maybe I had the slightest thought that it was actually going to be Aragon, and then my mind would have just been blown away. But no. You know who Fel's is? Fel's face, as he said, a former human, is a skull. To put it lightly, Fel's is a walking, breathing, talking skeleton. Anyway, Lid then says, Fel's is a sage, a super amazing mage. And I'm like, Nandeska? And it doesn't stop there. If you're surprised now, just wait. Just wait another line, and then you'll be even more surprised, alright, folks? Lily is then like, you mean this sage? Okay, and again, this is another, like, fucking gigantic reveal, because not only do we know what Fel's is doing, not only do we know what Fel's looks like, but now we're gonna know who Fel's was, and why he's able to stay alive. And Lily answers that for us, because apparently she reads a lot of books, and I don't know how, but apparently she just knows shit. Fel's is then like, not Fel's, Lily is then like, you mean the sage that successfully created and gained? I'm sorry. That successfully created and gained eternal life? What the fuck? Anyway, and Fel says that he is known as Fel's the Fool. And I'm like, but by who? Who, my guy, who? Who are you known by as a fool? And I'm just surprised. Because I've always thought of this as Fel's to be this mysterious person. And now that we know about him, I have even more questions. Like, obviously, like, look, so the reason he's called a fool is because he sort of meant, he went mad and tried to find the way to become eternal, and then he did. And then I think that's why he's called Fel's the Fool. But the thing is that I don't know who would call him Fel's the Fool. Because Fel's, apparently, I might, have said this wrong, but apparently Fel's is like 1,000 fucking years old. And so I don't know how anyone would even care about him. Or not care about him, but know about him personally to say enough that he's a fool, unless he, like, told the story of, that he's telling Belenco, but just what the fuck is going on? I'm okay. Anyway, Fel's then says he stays at Uranos' side. He stays at Uranos' side and observes all the ages, or to make more sense of that. he's observed the shifting of the ages. And I'm like, Fells, you just became an even better character. Like, I don't know how he can get fucking better. I just don't know how he can get better. So just like that, folks, it's break time! 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 That was weird. Alright, but yeah, it's break time. And I say, what the fuck? Yeah. Just such a crazy episode so far, and it's gonna get even we still have so much to talk about. I at least have another 2 or 3 rants to go on about. So, I'm gonna end off the clip right now, because I don't want to record for a long time, and then the whole thing to get destroyed. And so, to play it safe, I'm just gonna end this clip here. So if I do end up reviewing the second half and it doesn't work, then I can just re-record it, and that's fine, because I have the notes and this and that. So anyway, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go ahead and get some water, get like a snack or something, and then I will be back to tell y'all about the second half of the episode. And I also suggest that you all should get, some snacks and whatnot, because we still have about 3 pages, so yeah. Anyway, I'll be right back, folks. Yeah. So, folks, according to math, we're about 50 minutes into the episode, and that's insane, because, I'm pretty sure when I got to, okay, I'm pretty sure when, in the original recording, when I finished the first half, I had only hit minute 36. So, yeah, we're gonna be here for a while. But anyway, I've had my break. I had my snacks. It's been about like 10, 20, maybe even 30 minutes, but we're back. I'm gonna continue the review for however long I can, and then I'll have to probably stop, because, yeah. Anyway, so y'all already know what happened. It's probably just been a second for y'all. So, I'm just going to continue on. And yeah, so after the break, we learned that Fells, and this is crazy, Fells first met Lyd and the other Xenos 15 years ago. What? 15? Okay. So, right off the bat, I'm already going to go on another tangent. 15 years ago. So, what this franchise is telling me is that Xenos have been a thing since before Aspiration Record. So you're telling me that they've been taken care of, and that they've been moving from place to place for 15 years? Before Bell, before AS, before, just the anime, before the anime and before Aspiration Record, just before everything. Obviously not before Autogonoth, but before a lot of things happened. And that's fucking insane. 15 years. Anyway. 15 years ago. And that's when they called them Xenos. We learned that the Xenos are nomads. Which I think that's really interesting. The Xenos are nomads. Which we'll get into later, but the other thing that happens is that Lyd calls Lily Lidici, like how he calls Belle Betchi, and so I thought it doesn't really matter, but it matters at the same time. We learned that the dungeon has several safe spots for where the Xenos can live. And I'm like, what? And so that's another theory. Okay, so even though they say they call it a safe spot, I'm technically calling it a village because that's what they called the safe spot they're currently in, a village. And so I was right. There are multiple villages in the dungeon where Xenos live, and that's insane. What? Like, when I heard that, I really didn't think much of it, but then when I thought of it afterward, I'm like, wait a minute. I was right? Anyway. Fells, then says, there's approximately 40 Xenos in the room, in that village, in that group, which I thought was, wow. And we also learn the longest members, or as I like to call them, the elders of the Xenos, are Lid, Ray, and Gross. If you remember Gross from the beginning, that's literally the only thing you're going to hear about Gross in this episode. But not really, because we'll get to him in a bit. And we also learned that Lid is the leader and the strongest of the Xenos. However, a newcomer, which we haven't seen yet, a newcomer Xenos is becoming more powerful than Lid, and we learn that Xenos went to deeper levels to train alone. So I wonder what kind of character that is going to be. Just by that description of alone, I'm assuming he's going to be kind of like Bet, because I believe Bet trains alone. Or like Ace, but now I just remember that she really doesn't train alone. I mean, she has the whole goddamn familia, but maybe Bet doesn't train alone either. I don't know. I just thought it's interesting. Continuing from there, oh yeah, Lid is jealous of the newcomer, and continuing. Lily asks, either Lily or Welf asks, why do you support the Xenos, Fells? And we learned that Fells, plus the others that Uranus has under his wing, supports the Xenos so they can fulfill their dreams to go to the surface. And I'm like, huh. And we learn about some of their dreams, and this is where we're probably gonna have the longest tangent in the entire episode, I'd say. So just get ready for that. But okay. I say the longest, not really the longest, but like the most interesting, or the most connectability or something. The one that connects most, that I can refer back to me, and you'll see why. So then we learned that the Xenos, such as Lid, has a dream about wanting to see a sunset. Which, oh, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, folks. Alright. Continuing. Where was I even? Oh, yeah. I'm about to say that I was about to go on a huge tangent. Alright. So, continuing. Yeah, so, continuing. Let me read through. Oh, yeah. So, Lid has a dream about wanting to see a sunset. Which is weird, because you'd think that a monster who lives in the dungeon, or a Xenos, or a creature that lives in the dungeon, and has forever lived in the dungeon, wouldn't be able to know wouldn't be able to know the existence of a blue sky, or the sun. But apparently Lid does. And we're gonna, and we'll get into it in a minute. We're actually getting into it now. So, even though he's never been able to see, even though he's never been to the surface. And Lid believes in his previous life, he could have lived on the surface. And that's how the way he knows what a sunset looks like. But doesn't truly know. And also says that there are Xenos that can and cannot talk. Ones who learn quick and ones who don't. It's almost like they remember speaking it from a past time. A past life. So now this is where I want to go into detail. This is why I'm so frustrated. Or not frustrated, but this is why it would have been so cool if this episode, if episode 911 went well, and, you know, the 1 hour and 36 minute episode that was supposed to go up a few days ago would have gone up. Because if it did, then, you know, an episode 910, 911 would have been the perfect duo in the entirety of the series. Because that, from a past time, from a past life, I talked about that. I talked about that in episode 910. About me, you know, that my earliest memory was me being on a speedboat. Hearing that speedboat noise, that's how I was awakened. That's how I was awakened into the world. I was greeted with a speedboat noise, right? But I've always felt like there was a missing piece. There was a missing part. There was a missing memory. That I've always felt something was missing that I don't know. I always felt like there was something before that speedboat noise. Something like massive that I'm supposed to remember. And I said that I've had dreams that sort of are feel more like memories of other people that I don't know in places that I'm not familiar with. And so that in a weird way, in the craziest way possible, I relate just by the factor of a past life, a potential past life. And I know it sounds crazy, and I know it's far-fetched. But I can relate to Lid. Sure, it might not be about the language thing. Like, the language thing might not count, but memories. But even if it's just one memory he has. And here's the other thing. Even though I can relate to Lid, in that sense of like, oh yeah, I've remembered something from a past time, and for some reason I know how to speak this language that I must have learned from a past time. Besides that, you know, because whereas the past memory, that huge missing memory, that past life that I may have had, where I don't remember any of it, Lid remembers one thing about it, and carried one thing from that past life that he potentially had, and brought it into this new life. And so I just think it's very, very interesting. I just think that it's very, very, it's insane that the episode right before I was supposed to review this episode, or episode 4 of season 3, I talked about believing that that there was something missing from my memory. Like a huge missing piece of my memory. And then we just hear this. I just don't know. I just don't know. And what's even crazier, and I noticed this after rewatching the episode, Belle remembers what Ween had said about her body feeling cold, feeling like there was a hole in her chest, seeing those people so clearly, as if she had a memory. She has a memory from a past life that she doesn't truthfully remember, but she has feelings about it. She's scared. And the difference between me and Ween, because I was gonna say like, oh yeah, I can relate to Ween, but the difference between me and Ween is that she she feels like it's her. She feels like it's her there, and so whereas it's a memory of hers and not of someone else's, because Lid doesn't specify if it was really him who saw it. It's a very complicated thing. But my point is that I relate to the Xenos in that factor, and I don't at the same time. But anyway, I don't want to go on more about it. But yeah, that's insane. We also learn that whereas Lid wants to see the sunset again, Rey wants to try to fly in a world of light. Wants to be embraced by someone she herself loves. And so I think that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool goal to, be able to spread your wings. I'm definitely, I feel like I can relate to Rey in that matter. Not being trapped or anything, but I feel like I too would love to live in a world full of light. In a world of light. And spread my wings. Because we're in fucking quarantine. Anyway, we've been in quarantine for so long. Why? Anyway. And then before that, Fells prior to that, Fells prior to Lid saying, or not Lid saying that, I don't know when he said it prior, but Lid says either after what Lid said or before what Lid said. Fells says, but an intense, but an intense spirit ran towards, am I not reading this right? Oh, there you go. But an intense aspiration towards humanity, or the surface, is the sole commonality. So I'm assuming what he's talking about there is the common goal between him, like, I'm pretty sure that's his reason. That's his reason to help the Xenos. It's the sole commonality of bringing, like, an intense want to be a part of humanity, an intense part to be a part of the surface, or to be on the surface. I think that's what he wants. He just wants to he just wants to help them, man. He just wants to help them. Anyway, continuing on. How much do I have? Oh my god, I have so much left. Alright. Lid then says, Xenos are outcasts. And like I said earlier, they're both hated. They're both hated by people and monsters. Obviously, people don't know about Xenos, except for a select few. But still, they hate them. And Lid also says that he believes that their mom, the dungeon, which is another thing. That's the first time that the dungeons, like, that anyone's ever called the dungeon a her. Or, like, a living thing. I mean, people have said that the dungeon is a living thing, that it's a thing of its own. But no one has ever given a proper, like, no one's ever given their belief about what gender it is. If that makes sense. And so I think that's just interesting, saying mom. And so now I will forever follow in Lid's steps and just call the dungeon mom. No. No, that's a bit weird. But yeah, he believes that their mom, the dungeon, prepared their village for them. And he also believes, or not just him, but they, the Xenos, believe that their existence is permitted by their mom, the dungeon, despite despite the monsters and the humans hating them. And and then this is the reason, Lid says, that we were so happy to meet you. You obviously referring to Bell and Co. And the others. Bedici. And he also says, it's not about wanting you to help us or anything. It's just the fact that people who can accept us exist. Which I find really, really interesting. Because if they don't want to be helped, right? If the Xenos don't want to be helped, if the Xenos aren't reaching out to certain humans who know of their existence, and they're not asking for help, and they're just, that's pretty amazing. Because here's the thing, if I was a Xenos, my sole, not my sole intention, but like, my sole intention would be to live on the surface, to, be accepted by all as a Xenos and live amongst humans and adventurers and whatnot. But once like I sort of get it into my mind that that's not going to be possible for a long time, and instead just making friends with a single human, I think that's like probably the best feeling ever. Like being an outcast for so long, and then seeing someone from a group of people who hate you then become friends with you is just, I'm sure it's just the best feeling ever. Because I feel like I've had that experience personally. I'm not gonna explain how. Man, am I so glad that I stopped the recording in time. So, what you just saw was me saying, oh yeah, but I'm not going to tell you about that. And I'm not going to be able to tell you about that. So I recorded, so that was a 20-minute segment, I believe. And that went up to 40 to 44 minutes. Not 44 minutes plus, but that went for another 24 minutes after those 20 minutes. And I reviewed all the way up to, I was just about to start the final bullet point. And so, y'all missed the end of bullet point. Y'all missed the end of the bullet point that I was on. You missed the bullet point after that, and the bullet point after that. You didn't miss. You missed a lot, but you didn't miss a lot at the same time. Because I'm gonna review it anyway. So yeah, I'm reviewing. Anyway, continuing. I don't want to get into how it relates to me. Anyway, I do not want to click that. Okay. There you go. Alright. So after that whole thing, we move to Hestia and Uranus, where Hestia has one final question. What in the world is happening in the dungeon? And he responds... Actually, she says another question after asking that question, but I forget what it was. But whatever it was, led to Uranus asking another question, which is, what do you think happens to monsters after they die? Now, I'm not going to go into depth. I'm not going to go into depth with this again. But to basically sum this up, I had this theory a while back in the series. I don't know if I shared it on an episode. I don't know. But if I did, it was for like 5 seconds. It was either for 5 seconds or 20 minutes. But I had this theory that after monsters die, they would be like, they would just regenerate. They would be reborn. like the second after. They would keep on respawning like a video game. And guess what? I was right. But also not really. So let me explain why. Urano says, when children's spirits go to heaven, when I know that sounds so weird to say, when children's spirits go to heaven, where the monster spirits go is to the depths of the dungeon and are reborn. So I was right. They were reborn. But I didn't account for the depths of the dungeon part. And here's the other thing that I didn't mention in my notes. So they're reborn at the depths of the dungeon, right? But they're not just reborn in the depths of the dungeon. They're reborn stronger than they previously were in the dungeon. And that's insane. It's not insane, but that's crazy. Because then that means that, like, the final floor of the dungeon must have the strongest, like an absolute, a stupid amount of overpowered monsters. But that could also not be the case. So here's another theory that I have that I'm just going to go over very quickly, and I'm not going to talk about for like 5 minutes or 20 minutes. I have another theory, and my other theory is that what that made me think is that no matter what monster, no matter what level a monster dies at, they will always be reborn at the final floor or the depths of the dungeon, right? But I have a theory, and that theory is that doesn't necessarily happen all the time. My theory is that the monsters at the top of the dungeon, at the top of the dungeon, like not the lower floors, but the floors before the middle floors. Those dungeon, that's part of the dungeon with all the pathways, where A.S. met Bell, with the killer ants and the shadows and the this and the that. All those monsters, when they die, are reborn into like hellhounds or the rabbits in the middle floors, right? And then when monsters die in the middle floors, they then are reborn in the lower floors. And then the lower floors monsters are then, reborn into even lower floor monsters. So you got my point? And so that's my theory. I was planning on talking a lot more. I talked about a lot more in the unfortunately cut rant, about like, how the different levels of the dungeon differ, either in how many monsters there are, or in the strength of the monsters, how some of the levels have, like, a small number of monsters that are weak, or a small amount of monsters that are strong, or a large amount of monsters that are weak, or a large amount of monsters that are strong. And so, yeah. Anyway, continuing from that. Aranos believes that the reason why this is because it's the will of the dungeon. After that, we see the Xenos leaving the village to go to another, since their location was exposed. That's not the reason why. I'll clarify that in a few bullet points. Well, actually, in like the next, in the final bullet point, I'll clarify what it's actually for, why they actually left. But after they start leaving, Ray thanks Bell and Co. for, thanks them for coming, getting to know all them and whatnot. And then we learn something very, very interesting. So like I've said, like throughout the episode, there's a lot of things that we learn that are sort of like mind-boggling and what? Like that's a thing? And it seems so simple, but it's really not. But so we learn, or we don't learn, well, we learn, but basically Lid asks Bell if he knows what this is. And this is a magic stone. He shows him a magic stone, which is, the thing that when you kill a monster, you get a magic stone. I've been calling them crystals for forever, but I'm just going to be calling them magic stones now because that's what they say in the show. So, the magic stones, he shows him the magic stone and then eats the magic stone. And I'm like, oh, wow, all right. And Lid tells Bell not to hesitate when killing monsters because the Xenos do too. And I thought that was very, very interesting because, like, again, it's another thing that's, like, obviously, logically, I mean, since both humans and monsters are enemies of Xenos, or people that, or are creatures or organisms, living organisms that, are against Xenos, or against other monsters, it makes sense. It makes sense that they, the dungeon, a place that I don't think has a lot of food, that they would eat monsters. They obviously wouldn't eat, each other's kind, in the sense of, like, a Xenos probably wouldn't eat another Xenos, but a Xenos would eat a monster's soul. So I think it's just very interesting. And I also think that Lid is super cool for saying, Bell, don't hesitate to kill monsters. Because that was so weird what happened in episode 2. When Bell hesitated to kill the monsters and Aisha and Ryu were like, what the hell, dude? Are you okay? But yeah, I'm glad that whole thing is now fixed up and wrapped up now. Because of Lid. Lid is so cool. But anyway, after that, Lid then shakes Bell's hand. Bell more confident this time. And then after that, Bell and Co. start to leave the village as well. But so remember I had told you that I had seen 2 clips that Crunchyroll had uploaded on YouTube that I saw in my recommended. One of those clips, the last of those 2 clips, is what I'm about to talk about. So Ween starts to cheerfully run to Bell and says, let's go home together. And I say, and well, it's too sad to write, so let me explain. So like I said, Ween is cheerfully running to Bell, saying, let's go home together. And before she reaches him, Lid grabs her. She's like, and they're like, Lid and Ray are like, you can't go with them. You'll only cause them more troubles. People up there are gonna hate you. You'll only have bad times up there. And it just sucks. I mean, it's gonna suck even more, but it just sucks because it's the truth. And what's even more truthful is that Ray says, I forget if it was Ray or Lid, but I think it was Ray that says, if you go with them, then they'll be targeted just like us. They'll be outcasts just like us. And they'll have nowhere to go. And so, just like at the end of episode 2, Ween is like, Bell, really? Like, do I really have to? And then Belle just says nothing. And then she starts crying again. And and so she's just crying. and when she starts crying, Lid and Ray are like, all right, see you folks later. And Lid just takes Ween on the back of his shoulder. And she's just crying, and Belle sees that, Belle and Co. see that, and Belle, instead of saying nothing, like last time, what he does is he says, I'll come back for you. I'll come back to see you, Ween. Don't worry. And I'm like, and it's like, it's so fucking sad, man. Because they were such good friends. They had made such a great, like, Ween was such a great introduction, like a great addition to Hestia Familia, and it just sucks that she's not with them now. And so, from there, we see Hestia waiting for Belle and company while sitting on the fountain in Central Park. And, you know, it's morning time at this point, you know, sun's risen, or it's rising, and it's a beautiful new day in Arario. And, you know, Belle and co arrive and say, we're back. Hestia says, welcome back. And then Belle says, Goddess, what is the dungeon? And then probably one of my favorite quotes of all time in this show, Hestia responds, the dungeon is the dungeon. And I'm like, yeah. No, yeah, that's, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, it's just so obvious. It's just so, anyway. After she says that, that's the last we see of them for this episode. Because now I'm going to lead you through just an absolutely, like, just a real tragedy of an episode, folks. A real ending. So, we're then brought to Ween, laying on her back, and I was really surprised that we would see Ween again, because I thought the episode was just going to end off with Hestia Familia, but no, we get to see Ween right after she cried, and she's still crying. But she's laying on her back, crying, until her new Xenos pals are like, come along. The first Xenos pal that we see is her. I forget her name, but that's who calls her out to be like, hey, let's she says, like, come along, we have to go to the new village. And Ween says she's sorry and cries more. But those tears are then wiped away by a Minotaur-looking Xenos called Foe. Ween then thanks Foe, and then the leader of one of the four groups, because there's four groups that are heading to, I'm assuming there's four groups, to the new village, and the leaders of those groups, again, I'm assuming, are Lid, Ray, Gross, and, of course, this person, which I'll name in a minute. Actually, it's better to name her now than ever. Her name is Renee. Or Ranya. I'm just gonna call her Renee. Or Ranya. So Ranya is the leader, and Ranya then says, don't let your guard down, and Ween nods in agreement. Now, finally, we are at the last bullet point of the episode. Okay, let me just end off this recording so I can make sure that everything's saved. Okay, thank the Lord, everything's saved. So, it's now that so it's at the start of the final bullet point, I say sorry. It was out of caution that they moved villages. It wasn't because their location was exposed. So just, yeah, we're starting off with that. And that question was answered by Renee after Ween asked, why are we moving villages? And by the way, during this whole conversation, they're going down, like, you see them in this wide shot of just going down steps of the dungeon, like just going down really lengthy stairs of the dungeon, and you just see them walking down that as this whole conversation is going on. So let me just thought I should say that anyway. Also, eventually, they'll run out of food. Oh, yeah, they also run out of food, so yeah. Ween then understands, and then remembers how good Makoto's food was. Red Harpy Girl, which I still remember the name of, but, you know, Red Harpy Girl. Red Harpy Girl then says, don't worry, you'll see them again. Renee, or Renea, yeah, no, it's better to say Renee. Renee, then tells Ween, and Renee, I don't like Renee. I just want to say that right off I just don't like Renee, and you're going to understand why. So, Renee tells Ween to forget Belle and co. because they will only cause her harm. And in the boats and in the notes, I literally called her a bitch because I mean, I also just mentioned in the notes that the leader's name is Renee, so that's funny. And Ween asks if Renee hates Belle and co. Renee says that Ween's too ignorant to think that Belle and co. were kind to her, and that it was only out of pity. So that's anyway. Ween then hears someone crying, saying, "Help me." Believing it's the voice of a Xenos, they decide to go save the Xenos. When they get there, Renee calls Gross through the little, like, telecommunications thing. So, yeah, calls Gross and says, "We are going to rescue a new kin." And Gross says, "Wait for us. We can help you." And then he also says that it might be a trap. But despite his warning, they barge in and see just a beautiful shot. I mean, it's a beautiful shot, but it's also like not a beautiful shot at all. The lighting is beautiful, but what we see in the lighting is not beautiful whatsoever. They see a chained up Valkyrie slashed, just has blood slashes all across her body, and are surprised. They're just know that they're surprised throughout this entire scene, because I wrote the word surprise like 15 times. So are surprised, and Valkyrie says, like in a very like strangly voice, says, "Run." And then, folks, you're never gonna believe what happens. Dees clapping as he comes out of the shadows. Kalos Familia comes out from the shadows. The Xenos just are surprised. I'm going to say the word surprised as much as I wrote it. A Xenos then goes into attack named Orde. And it was this really cool looking guy. Like he looked like a knight in shining armor. I think this guy was, I think he was a shadow. I think that's what the type of Xenos he was. Like he was a shadow Xenos. And this man had like some epic looking armor and just was instantly killed. And such a, like basically one of the hunters just slashed Orde and then stepped on Orde's head. And then it was just like, fuck. And then the Xenos are surprised again. Dees then says, as he looks at all of them, looking at them, and it's like, I thought there'd be more of you. Pathetic. I guess I'm not going to have to use my epic, amazing weapon. And he says, "Let's hunt." And just like that, epic outro, and I'm like, thank the Lord that episode 5 is already out so I can know what happens next by tomorrow. Anyway, that's it. That's it. Just like that, we finished it up. And just like that, I've already forgotten what the title of the next episode is. But just know that it's called Achelo's Familia, the something. The Destroyer, it's just, wow. I can't believe that we actually finished it. Wow. Whew. So yeah, that's it, folks. That's episode 4. That's episode 4. Aspiration, Distant Dream. With a cliffhanger. And what's crazy is that Ween is with them. I don't know what... I don't know what's going to happen. Anyway. I don't have any theories for the next episode. I actually just don't have any theories. Because I don't want to have any theories. I mean, I want to, but I just don't at the same time. What I'm hoping for is that Ween isn't captured and that she runs away with the Harpy Girl and a few other of the members. That's what I'm hoping for. And that they'll survive and live in harmony by the end of the season. And that Dear's Paradis just dies. I don't know. I will say this. This is episode 5. And I didn't talk about what I'm about to talk about right now. But this is episode 5 that's come out. That's already come out by the time I'm recording this episode. And and I'm thinking that episode 5, seeing how it's called Achelo's Familia something something, sounding like a sort of endgame type episode for an arc. I'd guess. I'm worried if the next episode will be the final episode of the bringing harmony to monsters and humans arc. Even though I'm 100% sure that it's not, because, I mean, you wouldn't just spend 2 episodes of Hestia talking to Uranos and 2 episodes of mystery with Fells and 2 episodes of Belle plus, company going down the dungeon, meeting Xenos and talking with Xenos and learning about Fells and learning about all this stuff to not keep on extending it throughout the season. Anyway. That's my hope. But anyway, let's end off this episode by seeing Side Story 4. So yeah, like I was saying, Ween was crying. Yeah. Oh, so this is the first time that I think we've seen them in the game here, so this is awesome. There's Gross. I missed the Red Harpy's name. What's her name again? Yeah, he said that. Yes. Boy. Gross. You messed it up. Oh, it's Fear. Okay, her name is Fear. Gross, you are not a good parent. You effed up, Gross. Yeah. Arelis. Oh yeah, Arelis. Okay, this is gonna be funny. So Arelis is the white rabbit. Are you turning me into a sacrifice? So, how dare you, Fear? No. No one knows that Arle's begged for an arrangement to put herself and Wayne in different teams. That's funny. That was funny. Because, yeah, I mean, do I even have to explain why that's funny? Anyway. Oh, we actually did it. Oh my god, I'm so happy. I successfully re-reviewed episode 4. Oh my... Folks, if you knew how much time I put into this episode just to review... I hope I don't have to re-review things ever again. I really hope I don't have to re-review things ever again, please. Just please no. I don't ever want to re-review things ever again. Because this took too long. This episode didn't take too long. I'm glad with the length of this episode. But the fact that I had to record this review twice, and I had to watch the episode twice, and I had to... Usually I think I spend like 3 hours on watching the episode, writing the notes of the episode, and then recording the episode where I review the episode. I think it takes around 3, maybe 4 hours at best. This took like 5 to 6 hours because I had to re-record. Anyway, we finally did it. We've come to an end, and now we're gonna go ahead and see if we can get some bonds today, folks. We're gonna try to get Fear on our team because that would be very, very cool. I'd love to get Fear on our team. And then next episode, oh, we get Fear? Or is this Ray? Oh wait, no, this is whoa. Oh, it's the meter. Hi. Whoa. No, so next episode is gonna be a pretty crazy episode. So get ready for that. And then the episode after next episode, we have other crazy stuff. So it's the redemption arc, folks. I know that I'm gonna retitle the last 2 episodes to the redemption arc prologue, and not to the redemption arc, because this is the redemption arc, folks. We have started the redemption arc of the 900s. It's gonna be very, very fun. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for y'all to see what I have planned for the next, for this weekend, really. Oh, it's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so great. Oh, I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited. I'm just gonna have to get, like, so much sleep. All I need to do is, like, finish 2 homeworks, and I have nothing but time. I swear, after this episode, and after having dinner... Actually, no. After this episode, and then after doing my homework... Depends on which comes first, dinner or homework. Probably gonna be dinner. After that, I'm probably gonna go ahead and record Genshin Impact, or just relax. Having finished recording this episode is such a huge weight off my shoulders. You don't even know. You don't even. I mean, you do know, because I complained about it for like 30 minutes. It's so good to be back. It's so good. I'm so excited. I really want to get into Sword Oratoria stuff, man. It's been too long. I need to get into it. We started Turbulent Shore Rondo very early into the 900s, and we're still early into the 900s. We need to get back onto it. We need to get back to Turbulent Shore Rondo. We need to start doing the event that comes after Turbulent Shore Rondo. And then there's just so much to do, guys. We didn't get Fear. Oh no, we can get Fear. There's just so much to do. There's so much to do. But I think that's why I'm going to take tonight to either rest up after I finish my homework. I'm either going to rest up, or I'm going to... Okay, so I'm either going to get sleep, or watch Tommy and its live stream for today, from today, where he played Among Us. Which, by the way, I watched his stream yesterday. Dude, Tommy in it played with Jacksepticeye, rated him, and Jacksepticeye, like, said, Tommy, that's crazy that you have that amount of viewership. Thank you so much. You're such a legend. And I'm like, what? The Jacksepticeye said that about Tommy? That's like, what the... So yeah, that was pretty cool. And so Tommy played with Jack and a bunch of other people today. And so I'm gonna watch that VOD after, maybe. What do you got here? Yeah! Hey! It's Fear! It's Fear! Oh, look at that. We got a new character. We're expanding the team. I just this is so good to have finished this, man. I'm so happy. Oh wait, is Fear a wait a minute. Is Fear an assist? Fear. Wait. Okay, I don't think Fear's an assist. Wait. Yeah, I don't think Fear's an assist. Right? Yeah, she isn't. Oh, that's so cool. We actually got another fighter. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, this is so awesome. I hope we get enough characters to fill up the sub members. Oh, this is going to be such a great team. All right. Well. Oh, wait, I didn't save it. Oh. Oh. Oops. Wait a minute. Hold up. Let's save this to Danmachi. And then we'll go ahead, exit out of here, then call up, Rhea Peak team. We're back. Get ready, folks, for the next episode. And I mean it. Get ready. Because if you haven't already forgotten, we are a level 2, 3rd class, S tier adventurer. Alright? We're strong now, folks. We're strong, and we're going to keep on getting stronger. There's a lot more stories. There's a lot more of this. There's a lot more of that we're going to do, and it's just going to get even larger. And it's going to be even crazier. But we'll get into that next episode. In the next episode. Let me just check the familia. The next episode. Wait. Hold for pause. And the next episode of Dungeon Nideao Motomeru no Amashigate iru Daruka Memoria Freese Y3 The Redemption Arc.